16th Finance Commission laga charter member team pra Nagaland de tin karne visit kurina ase. Commission laga charter members satte supporting staff kan November 4 de Pradesh Punchia Raji November 5 de 16th Finance Commission upper Hotel Viewer Kohima de media lokat kotha kurishe. Indian Constitution hisab Commission do chairperson aro charter members pra lead kure. Itu hen hoigina Union Tax Revenue do state aro central majude share kurule aro states. Rural or urban te kiman puisa dibule lage itu the commission bra mandate kure. Satte national or state disaster relief funds karne financial resources dibule the commission bra recommend kurubo. Commission laga main responsibilities to vertical devolution, horizontal devolution or grant in 8 shamil kure. Grant in 8 pidor panchta categories ase kude pehla category de revenue deficit grants ase, second de rural or urban local bodies empower kurubole. Local sarkar ge grant tibule, third te disaster management grant, fourth te sector specific grant or fifth te state specific grant ase. 16th Finance Commission laga chairman Arvind Banagariyabra commission laga maksad upar kotha kura detail ba sai sabo.
Okay, so I'll give you some brief remarks on what the Commission has been doing, and we can take a few questions. So, currently the Commission became operative in mid-February of this year, and its mandate is still at the end of October 2025. So from here now we have approximately a year left within which to fully prepare the final report and submit it to the Government of India. One integral part of the Commission's work consists in visiting every single state. We started that process soon after the elections, soon after the parliamentary elections. And Nagaland is our 10th state. We started with Himachal Pradesh and then have gone to, I'm not sure I'll be able to name all the states, but a large number of them I will name to you. Rajasthan, we have been through Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Karnataka, Gujarat. In the northeast, we have gone to Meghalaya, to Assam. So these are many of the states out of the 10 that we have visited. Today is our main day of the meetings in Nagaland. As is the practice, we had a very long meeting with the Government of Nagaland, with the Chief Minister, members of his cabinet, the two Deputy Chief Ministers, members of his cabinet, senior officials present on the side of the Government of Nagaland, and on the Commission side, the members and myself, and our senior staff present. Chief Minister spoke, gave a long address. He outlined the needs of Nagaland and what his expectations were from the Commission. He was also preceded by the Chief Secretary, who gave a few remarks on the progress that Nagaland had made in brief. And after the Chief Secretary and the Chief Minister had spoken, I spoke, where I gave my thoughts, my initial thoughts. And then we had a very long presentation by the ACS, the Additional Chief Secretary, Finance, again as per the practice. And that presentation is the really major part of the meeting. And this long presentation was about how the economy of Nagaland has evolved and how it is performing. But a large part of that presentation is about the finances of Nagaland, and then it also outlines what the Government of Nagaland expects from the Commission. Now, the job of the Commission, the biggest part of the job of the Commission is to make recommendations on the division of the, what is called the divisible pool, first between the center and the 28 states. This is called the vertical devolution. And then also they advise on how the share that goes to the states ought to be divided among the 28 states. And that's called the horizontal devolution. That is the major task of the Commission. But in addition, then the Commission also makes recommendations on the grants to be given to the local bodies. These grants come from the Consolidated Fund of India, meaning from the budget of the Government of India. And it also gives recommendations on the disaster relief grants that these also come from the Government of India. So these are the main. Then there are provisions for possibly state-specific and sector-specific grants, which may be about education sector or health sector. These are very much in the spirit of some of the centrally sponsored schemes that take place as well. Areas that are covered sometimes, covered quite well also by the centrally sponsored schemes. So that is the context of the meeting, and this is in that context that the government of Nagaland also gave its recommendations, so on vertical devolution, meaning the apportionment of the divisible pool between the center and the states. The main demand of the government of Nagaland was that there are certain cesses and surcharges that the government of India levies, and these are not included in the divisible pool. They are not included in the pool of resources, pool of revenues, from which are shared with the states. Instead, they 100% go directly to the central government. This is as per the current provisions of the Constitution. The plea from the government of Nagaland was that over time these cesses and surcharges have grown larger and larger, and since they are not shared with the states, states are being deprived of their share in the what ought to be part of the divisible pool. So they would like the cesses and surcharges to be somehow included in the divisible pool, or somehow adjust the share of the states in a way that these losses are compensated for. So that's on the vertical devolution. On horizontal, which relates to how the share of the 28 states ought to be divided among the different states. The conventional criteria have been like, one important criteria that is used is income distance, which means that, how much lower the per capita income of a state is relative to the average of the country, or generally what most commissions have taken is the richest state with the highest per capita income. Therefore, the idea is that the poorer is a state, lower the per capita income of a state, larger the share of that state according to this criteria. Okay? Then population is another criterion which is used, and that is straightforward, that that the share in the divisible pool from based on that criterion is about what is the share of the state in the population. Similarly, area is also used, the land area of the state, what proportion of land area is accounted for by that state. There is forest and ecology, what part of the forest is accounted for by the state. Then there is 15th Finance Commission used, for example, a demographic variable, which that is in addition to the population, and they had used the total fertility rate, that the lower the fertility rate, the higher the share of the given state. And then there is tax effort, what kind of effort state is making to raise its own tax revenues. So these are the conventional criteria that are used. The state of Nagaland suggested that we tweak some of these criteria, and they also suggested to add something. So on area, they said they were okay, keep it as is, population keep it, so population share, the 15th Finance Commission was 15%, Nagaland agreed with that share is roughly right, meaning that 15% of the divisible pool is divided based on the share in population. Likewise, the area weight was 15%, which means that 15% of the divisible pool is divided among the states based on their share in the area of the country as a whole. Then on forest and ecology, Government of Nagaland suggested that share, which was 10% under the 15th Finance Commission, be raised to 15%. And it also suggested some sort of modification on how this should be divided. I think one of the points they made was that one should also take a look at not just the forest area, but also what proportion of the total area of the state is taken by the forest area. Because the larger the area, larger the proportion of the total area taken up by the forest, the less area is left there for other economic activities. And so that ought to be taken into account as well. So two modifications on that. One, increase the share of the divisible pool, which is dispersed based on forest and ecology from 10% to 15%, and modify the criterion of forest. Demographic performance is left as is. Tax effort, they left it as is, which was 12.5% for demographic performance, that is the TFR, and for tax effort 2.5%, and they left it as is. Then the government also suggested factoring in a disability index, and it had a number of characteristics defining disability of a state, based on, for example, hilly terrain of the state, features such as those which contribute to higher costs of performing any economic activities. So that is roughly. Then the state has also asked for a number of other grants. One area where this was a very new thing for the commission, which the state added, is about having some sort of capital deficit grant. Conventionally, commissions have given what we call the revenue deficit grants, but in addition to the revenue deficit grants, Nagaland said that there ought to be also capital deficit grants because of Nagaland's special circumstances. This is not something that conventionally any of the commissions have done in the past. You had 15 commissions in the past. This came largely from the sense that when the Planning Commission existed, the Planning Commission used to give some grants for capital projects, and now that the Planning Commission was not giving those grants, these grants ought to continue to come from somewhere, and so that is the motivation for these demands. And then there were several project-specific grants, a number of them they listed, which is another long list of projects. So there is something about airport, for example. There's foothill roads, drones and geospatial technology services, renewable energy project, hydropower generation, mineral exploration. So a number of these projects also for which the state has asked for grants. So that's the overview of the presentation. And then, as far as the meeting was concerned, I spoke, members asked a number of questions, to which then the Chief Secretary and the ACS Finance gave answers. There's a number of things that the Commission has asked for as feedback to the Commission on a number of issues. So the state is going to, in due course, provide additional data and notes to the Commission, because not all of this can be done immediately while the meeting is going on. So the Chief Minister and Power Minister also spoke briefly, and then the meeting was brought to a close. So that's the full account of the meeting. We can take 3 or 4 questions and then we'll wrap up the meeting.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Asura from ALLOCATION. So I wanted to ask you, what is your general observation of current economic status of Nagaland, and what are the immediate measures that you can suggest for the state to implement?
So right now, as I mentioned, this is our 10th state only. 18 more states remain. And until and unless we have heard all 28 states, it will be really not right, not appropriate for the Commission to express, what it will do or what it can do, because the Commission itself at this stage doesn't know. We are listening to the states first. Discussions are ongoing, there is no doubt, but no decisions clearly have happened, can happen until we have done all our homework.
Deficit budget has always been a feature of Nagaland, propelled by...
Sorry, what has been a feature?
Deficit budget has always been a feature of Nagaland, propelled by, committed expenditures. So in this regard, could the Finance Commission suggest some fiscal reforms or offer financial support to help Nagaland manage its expenditures effectively while freeing up resources for development?
So I did actually, in response after the presentation, I did express concern about the large fiscal deficit as well as debt. See that both, the debt to GDP ratio or debt to GSDP ratio, gross state domestic product ratio, of Nagaland is quite high, and the fiscal deficits are also continuing to be large, so it is a bit of a concern from the overall macroeconomic stability viewpoint. Now, what can the Commission do and what advice the Commission might give, that is still a little premature for me to say, but at some point, Nagaland is not the only state with this issue. There are some other states as well, and so Commission is very likely to say something about all those states where macroeconomic imbalances are large and they need to be addressed.
Sir, I'm Narayan Bahadur with the Press Trust of India, PTI. I would just like to ask you one thing, Nagaland has always been a special category state where the grants and fundings always have been directly from the center because of our own research branch here. So how does the Commission have the concept or the idea of to bring Nagaland at par with the other of the states or provide special grants to the state?
Okay. Now, remember that the special category status was something that related to the grants that were given by the World Bank, and so by the Planning Commission, since the Planning Commission really no longer gives any grants, in a substantive sense, the special category status is no more a factor, although there is some special treatment that happens. For example, the centrally sponsored schemes, in many schemes where other states get only 60% contribution by the central government, in Nagaland's case it's 90%. So there are some special features that are continuing. But Nagaland is raising part of some of it, not as much as one would like it to, but it is raising some of its own revenue as well. It's not that the entire budget is coming from the government of India, although a significant part is through the devolution and the grants in aid, etc. And certainly, the commissions generally does encourage states to raise as much of their own revenue as possible, because in effect, ultimately this revenue itself to a substantial degree is a function of the GSDP of the state. And more revenue means that the GSDP is larger. and it's largely GSDP is desirable in its own right anyway, because that's what leads to higher per capita incomes. So certainly from that point of view, the Commission will very much be behind that. Although the usual, the devolution that is done to the states will of course continue.
Looking to elevate your team's skills in hospitality and customer service? At Emporium Training Institute, powered by Eagle Crest Training Academy, we offer customized workshops tailored to your organization's needs. From hospitality basics to advanced customer service, we deliver practical, impactful skills. Let us help you build a skilled, confident team. Emporium Nagaland, shaping professionals one workshop at a time.